Welcome to Our Spain Poco A Poco. Hi, Gaetano. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I have to say, Tanya, it's I hate to say it again. It's hot.
It's hot.
And and it's funny what today's episode about the naming of the streets is. I'd love to go out and actually walk the city and see some of these street names, but it's too hot to do so.
Well, and I keep thinking, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I have to say, like, it's just too hot. Like, the only thing I can think of doing is getting on a bike. That's probably it. And so I am really excited about it getting a bit cooler. But this is why we're doing this, because we've noticed, like, I think very much unlike England and America for me, there are a lot of Doctor Street names in Spain. And we just wanted to enlighten everybody on why.
And what's crazy. There's a lot of Doctor Street names, but it's like weird, right? Like it's weird, strange from an outsider because it's like everywhere. And Spanish is so confusing to me
Mm-hmm.
when I first arrived, right? You don't know anything, but you're like, how is every street named Doctor? And my first instinct was, how does anyone get around town with Doctor this, Doctor that, Doctor that, right?
So not only that, it's the same doctor over and over.
Yes, the same doctor, but not in the same city. So but it's the same doctors in all the cities.
Right, and all the towns. So I've had a
Yeah,
situation where I've put in a street address and it's wanted to take me not to the town that I want to go to. Like, so you have to be
right.
really careful. And we've talked about this before. So this is just a little PSA in the beginning of our Poco a Poco here, which is that when you put in a street name in Spain, if you're going somewhere, just take a look at the map and make sure you're going in the right direction, because they do
Right.
duplicate these names all over the place outside of the city. Somewhere outside of the city might be just as close as the other side of the city. So just like you gotta look.
Yes, you do. And make sure it says the town name. And I've gotten into a fight with Google Maps because we were going to a friend's house and I needed to get there. And they're like giving me, Calle Mayor, but they were giving me 20 other towns and then like refusing that this street existed in this one little
Right.
town. And then I don't know how I finally got there. I'm like, no, it exists.
Yeah, you gotta get to know it a little bit. But so this is the reason why we decided to do this Poco a Poco, because it was interesting to us, because I wanted to look up all these doctors and see what they had done, and it was enlightening.
And speaking of enlightenment, maybe we should talk about the history of why this even exists.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, these streets are named after doctors, like we've said. So, obviously, they're doctors of importance because of important breakthroughs they've done in medicine and all of that stuff. But this started in the 19th centuries, in the mid 1800s, during the Enlightenment time. So, it was, instead of naming all the streets after religious figures and saints and priests and kings and stuff. They were wanting to bring up the names of the Enlightenment era, right? The educated people who were learning
In
new
all
things.
fairness, they might have actually run out of saints, because there's no shortage of those either. So it's not like those
Right.
went away. So basically, one of the reasons that it became more prolific that we have a lot of doctors was because there was a historical memory law that was passed in 2007, the Leyes de Memoria Histórica, which was the beginning of trying to rename streets that were named after Spanish Civil War and Franco era people.
Right, because after the Enlightenment, then the Civil War happened, and then
Right.
Franco was like,
And
"I
then
got to
Franco,
name all
yeah.
these streets after my generals," right? So,
Yeah. So
so they had to
there was
correct
that,
that.
yeah. So they started correcting that, and there's several ways over the years that that's happened. That is why they decided to go with more neutral professions like scientists and physicians and all of this, which I think is lovely. So it's, you've got a bit of a combination. I'll say, if I were to look around, between saints and still some kings and things, but also a
Hmm.
lot of doctors, and it's pretty much always scientists and physicians, which yeah, it's a lot.
And I have to say, there's something I like about it because I know these are like important doctors that have done like extraordinary things in the field, but there's something like tangible aspirationalism about it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like you can grow up and can be like, see, one day maybe you can get your name up there. Like you can go to school for that. I don't
You
know if you
can
can go
go
to
to
school
school
to
for
be
that.
a king, right?
Not yet. And it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of streets. I would say that if we look at the like three major cities, Madrid, Barcelona, and Valencia, we're looking at a lot of streets that are named after these professions. We're looking at like 160 streets, more or less. I'm sure this is, whatever in Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of streets in Madrid, but that's still a lot. If you go into an American, I think, or a British city, you're not going to find a doctor there, I don't think.
I don't think I've ever seen a Doctor Street, right?
Right?
So, and on that note, like Barcelona has a close, I think it's around 150, and Valencia has around 70 street names. But I think to some people, to me, it seems disproportionately higher because it's such a small city. Like the footprint's so
Right.
small, so you run into them more
Yeah, I
frequently,
think that's
even though it's a
true.
smaller number.
Yeah, because if you look at that, actually resembles more or less the size of the cities to each other, don't you think? You got Madrid
Right.
as the biggest, then Barcelona and Valencia, I think. So it would kind of work, I think, in that way.
Right.
Yeah, and no, it's
Right.
not just streets. I mean, we're kind of talking about streets, but it is also squares and hospitals. Some of these physicians have buildings and things named after them, but we're kind of focusing on how we found them, which is through the streets.
Through the streets, yes.
Because I have to be honest, didn't know who a lot of these people were, and I should have.
Should you have? Because I don't know. I mean, I knew like two of them, but that's about it.
Yeah, I think I
Should
knew
we-
like two.
So we were thinking of how we could come across these in like some sort of order. So we're not doing them in a chronological order of when they were named, but more or less the chronological order of their lives.
Yes, and the reason for that is some of them carried on work that another one started or something, and they're in similar fields, so it made sense to have talked about the first one first. So which one is more famous is not how we have ordered this at all.
Right.
Plus who's to judge? I suppose it depends on what area of business you're in.
Yeah, so number one, to all the ladies in the house, Isabel Zendal, Isabel Zendal, is our first, and she's from 1773 to 1815 was the expanse of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She was a nurse, not a doctor. Still very important. We need that in the world. She was one of the most commemorated healthcare figures in modern Spain because of her roles in the smallpox vaccination expedition. Smallpox. What did I say?
Smallpox. Smallpox. Same thing. So she was from Galicia, which I haven't visited yet, but I want to. And mostly because it's colder up there than it is right now here. So,
and I want to go too.
Right, let's go now. So she took part in something that people might have heard of, which was the Balmis expedition. And that was where she took the smallpox vaccination to South America and Asia. And her role in the expedition was to take care of a group of like 26 small orphan boys, because that's what you did back then, who carried the cowpox virus from which the vaccine was prepared. So by taking them, and then they've got the boys to take the vaccine from, and then they can vaccinate people down there.
So they got the virus from them to create the vaccine. That's awfully very brave of her too, right?
Yeah, but those poor boys, now I'm feeling a bit sad, but that's how it happened, and that's how you had to do it. And so that was obviously a big, there's a reason why she has a lot of street names after her. Streets named after her, sorry. And the next one is Pedro Mata Fontanet, 1811 to 1877. And he is best known as the founder of forensic medicine as a scientific discipline here in Spain. So his greatest contribution was kind of creating the framework for legal medicine. So, and that was applying to the courts and legal investigations, which I think is really interesting. So that sounds terrifying.
But what I'm seeing here is without him, we wouldn't have like Law and Order and CSI Miami and all these things.
Yes, it would be nothing.
I don't know what shows do the medical.
All of them do that, I think. So his approach to medicine was anatomy, pathology, chemistry, and obviously probably quite experimental. But he was a famous doctor in that time for his legal and forensic medical work, and his name is the street that is right next to the Madrid College of Physicians, appropriately.
Well, that would make sense, yeah.
Yep.
So our next one is Federico Rubio y Galli, 1827 to 1902. He was the pioneer or a pioneer of modern surgery in Spain and often referred to as the Prince of Surgery
Woohoo.
because of his technical skill and the introduction of, new operations and creating modern educational, surgical education in Spain.
I've noticed that a lot there is like a theme that runs through a lot of these, which is that a lot of these doctors, what they did in their area was to modernize the area, and
Right.
whether it was the education or the actual like surgery, the actual talent. I think that's kind of interesting. That's kind of what they're being renowned for.
And he was reforming medical education, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So he in 1880 he founded the Institute of Operative Therapeutics at Madrid's Hospital de la Princesa.
Mm-hmm.
Princesa. And in 1896, he established the Royal School of Nurses of St. Elizabeth of Hungary, which was
Wow.
widely regarded as Spain's first formal school for lay nurses.
Very
Before
important.
that,
Yeah.
most of the nurses were nuns.
Right, that's true. And there was, I mean, they would have had their own education between them that they probably would have passed down to each other, but it wasn't a formal situation at all.
Right, and definitely not science based. I'm sure it
No,
was
religious
experience
based,
based, right?
experience based. So the next one is Jose de Letamendi, 1828 to 1897. And he's actually a famous medical academic whose name often appears in Madrid and Barcelona as Dr. Letamendi, or I would probably imagine how do they say it?
Calle Doctor
There you
Calle
go.
Doctor Letamende.
Exactly. And he was quite a bit more than a doctor. He was an anatomist, a pathologist, a philosopher, a musician, a painter, a poet, a journalist, a politician. And so he did a
A
lot of
bon
different
vivant,
things.
as we shall say.
Exactly. And his broad intellectual interest made him one of the era's best known public intellectuals. So he was what one might call a medical philosopher. And he
Okay.
believed that medicine should not be reduced just to the lab. And he tried to build a sort of a grand philosophical system that united biology and pathology and ethics and society. And he actually wrote some books, such as the Corso de Patologia General and the Corso de Clinical General. So he wrote some books for people to study on what he thought about all of this, which I'm assuming you could still read if you wanted to. And this was all about the theory of unified medicine, of pulling things together.
So I may venture to say in this era of wellness, he could have been the pioneer of holistic medicine. If you think about it, he's looking at all
Absolutely.
the aspects.
Or at least gave a position for that to come from. Like,
Right.
I'm sure at the time people might have thought his reputation might have been questioned in many areas.
Right.
Um, and his reputation did take a bit of a decline in the early 20th century because of his philosophical systems. They seemed sort of outdated, and they were considered a little outdated compared to the last person that you mentioned, which was Federico Rubio Egali. So, you know, there's they're working at the same time and not, and having a little contentious relationships.
And he was a little bit more new age. He was the new age one.
I feel like he might have been a little new agey for his time, but
Right.
obviously
For
not
his
so
time.
much that he wasn't recognized for it. So an interesting juxtaposition for his history.
Right. And next we have Juan Guinea y Partagas.
Partagas, I guess the accent.
Partagas. Our Spanish is so horrible. I
I
I don't want to be tarred and feathered on the street from the way we speak.
We've done worse, I
And he
think.
lived from 1836 to 1903. So he was an influential doctor and medical educator, and he helped transform the care of mental illness from just custodial confinement towards a more
Clinical. Basically, just stop. Don't put people in a home and leave them there. Like
and leave
actually,
them there to
like
rot. Right. This
maybe
is
do
actually
something with
studied.
them.
Yes, exactly. Maybe we should study them and how can we help them and observe them and he built Spain's first psychiatric school as the director of the Nueva Belén Asylum in Barcelona and as a professor of the University of Barcelona. He trained many of the country's first generation of psychiatrists.
Right, so that's really groundbreaking, I'm sure. This guy also, interestingly, was not only a physician, he was also a science fiction writer. Haha.
Ay, Dios mío.
And he wrote novels such as Viaje a Cerebropolis, Journey to Cerebropolis, in which the brain is portrayed as a bustling city whose districts and inhabitants represent different mental functions and emotions. So this is a little bit like Inside Out, right? I don't know.
Oh, that
the
sounds
movie.
good. Like, it's not aliens and things.
No, but it would have been science fiction because I guess, maybe the way, I mean, I haven't read it, so I can't say why that falls into science fiction, but more just like super imaginative, I think.
Right.
And trying to put what he thinks and how he thinks the brain works into more of a novel versus a, studying book. So, and he did another novel called The Mysteries of Madness, and that explored psychiatric disorders. So I think it seems like he had a wonderful imagination that helped him to help people, because again, we still don't know that like as much as we want about the brain. So back then, even less.
It is uncharted territory, like the oceans on Earth, right? we have no idea what's in there.
And carrying on from him and sort of working maybe together was Jose Maria Esquerdo from 1842 to 1912, and he was also a pioneer in psychiatry and mental health care.
And he also founded the Sanatorio Esquerdo, named after himself,
Yeah.
in Madrid, at a time when many asylums relied on the confinement, as we talked about, and the harsh restraints. He promoted compassionate care and trained staff, and I guess what you would call now occupational therapy.
Yeah, and that's again turning, mental illness into a medical condition that you can try to treat rather than a moral failing or a crime, which is, often, and there's still a lot of stigma. So I think we're not that far ahead, but we're moving along.
And this person, this name I see a lot. This is a street I see a lot too. Santiago Ramón y Cajal.
Which he is in Madrid, Malaga, Valencia, Seville, and various other places. So yes.
He's everywhere, yes.
He's everywhere. Why? Why is he everywhere?
And he lived from 1852 to 1934. And he is Spain's most celebrated medical scientist and winner of a Nobel Prize in 1906 of physiology or medicine. He was the science winner. So there you go.
Yeah, and his prize was in recognition, him and an Italian named Camillo Golgi, they were recognized for their pioneering work in the structure of the nervous system. So we can see why that would have led to a Nobel Prize, because that would have been very groundbreaking.
I'm just going to take a side note. As much as humanity can disappoint me, we do amazing things. You think about that far back and that they're already thinking about the nervous system. Like, it's it's amazing. Bizarre to me.
It is amazing. The next one is Dr. Joaquin Berenguer Ferrer. And I've seen this name. I feel like I've seen this name everywhere. And there may be a lot of Berenguers. I don't know how you say that exactly, but I've definitely seen
and Ferrers. I mean, St. Vincent Ferrer. So you have Ferrers streets everywhere.
Do, but he was a Valencian physician, which is probably why I've seen it a lot here. So he's special to our area of Spain as well, and he was a local health official and medical academic. And he studied medicine at the University of Valencia, and then he served as the director of municipal charity as the chief clinical doctor in the provincial hospital in Valencia. So he was notable as we were talking earlier as actually a local doctor. We were saying, they're local doctors, getting their names on streets, and there are.
And there's a square in the Alavereta district here in Valencia, named after him in 1969. So during the Franco era, that was requested by the Health Corps to honor notable local doctors.
So that's a popular Valencian one.
There you go. And next we have
Alexander
a
Fleming.
non-Spaniard.
I'm going to take this one as a Brit, just to start, in case you don't know who he is, but we all know who he is. 1881 to 1955. famous for discovering penicillin. So, but he gets an honorary mention in Spain as one of the few, if only, foreign doctors that get a street name here because, Gaetana, you want to take this?
Well, because of bullfighting.
Of course.
Yeah. There's, being gored by the horns of a bull is going to lead the body to be susceptible to many a bacterial infection.
Including death.
And including, yes. Bacterial infections did often lead to death.
That is exactly what was happening. And then when the penicillin came in, they realized, all these bullfighters could actually survive these things and carry on. And that's what happened. So he gets an honorary street name.
And he's one of the most common. So, I mean, it's nationwide. He is that name pops up on our streets.
Well, on that famous British note in Spain, that's probably the last one. We have more and we can do more. But I think we've probably reached our Poco A Poco length of...
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a Poco. It would be a Largo.
But we could do a Largo on this because they just keep going. But if you're
there's hundreds of these names.
Exactly. But if you're walking around... look up the names because there are lots of them and you might find something really interesting.
Yeah, and learn something. And as a tourist or as a resident, it helps form your roots, right? Mm-hmm. Know where you stand, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And since they did take a part in renaming all the streets relatively recently, there's some interesting stuff there for sure.
Right. So on that note, Tanya.
Adios.
Go walk the streets. Adios.
Go walk the streets. What? You go walk the streets.
I will in September when it's cooler.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Our Spain.
We really appreciate all the support we have received since we started this podcast.
Visit ourspain.com for transcripts to this and our other episodes, some exciting merchandise, and if you are so inclined, there is also a link to buy us a coffee, which helps support this fun endeavor.
And please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Our Spain Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're listening.
It really helps us stay connected, and we'd love to hear from you.
Let us know if there's any topics you would like for us to talk about. Even though we are happy to talk about anything, we also want to make sure it's informative for you.
Exactly.